G'day and welcome to the National Virtual Expo. I'm your host for this session, Rob Malicki, and I'm on Garigal land in Sydney. I'm stoked to be welcoming back to the National Virtual Expo, Aaron Driver from the University of New England. Welcome back, mate.
Thanks, Rob. Good to be here for our final session.
It is our final session. We've had some great conversations throughout the week. So if you folks who are watching along have missed the earlier sessions, we've done 3 other sessions throughout the week. We did a great session on using AI and studying with AI to get better results. We've talked about AI fundamentals and AI safety as well. All the details for those are down in the session description below. And Aaron, as people are going, they can ask questions as well in the chat. So if they're streaming along live, and if you're watching on the replay, join the Choosing Uni Discord or the Facebook group for parents. All of your questions will get answered. So make sure you drop them in as you go. But Aaron, I'm really excited about this conversation because it's one of the topics that I get asked most about when I'm talking to students about uni. We're talking about AI and the future of work.
Yeah, we get to nerd out for half an hour because
we do get to nerd out.
Such an interesting subject.
It's so interesting. And maybe by way of just opening us up, because the question I get asked probably the most is like, well, what degrees and what careers are safe from AI? So I might just put that to you, Aaron, as the Chief AI Officer at the University of New England. What degrees and the careers are safe from AI?
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but no degree or career is entirely insulated from AI if you consider robotics to also be part of the AI picture. And I think you have to consider robotics to be part of it, right? Like if you look at what the big model companies, the big AI companies, Frontier Labs are doing right now is they're training AIs to essentially drop into robots as brains. And the brains are almost ready and the bodies are only a few years away from being ready, maybe even less than a few years. So I would say it's pretty safe to say that, you know, can you find a career that's not affected by digitization? Maybe 1 or 2, and even, I mean, if you take a hard labouring job, like a farming job is affected by digitization, but maybe there's a hard labouring job that isn't, maybe, but even they'll be affected by robotics, obviously. So yeah, I think we're pretty safe to say, Rob, that it doesn't matter what career you're planning, what degree you're thinking about, you need to start factoring AI into your considerations.
Yeah, that's it's so true, isn't it? I mean, I think when people think about this, you know, we see how you can now go to one of these tools, ChatGPT, Claude, and you in seconds can generate images, audio, video, music, text, of course. So this is kind of the obvious stuff. But then, just as you said, like, I mean, they're 3D printing houses these days. Yeah. So you would have thought a bricklayer, a few decades ago, would be a pretty safe job for life. Yeah, no longer.
Also, the idea that human soft skills and empathy, that's important, by the way, and we can talk about that. But even randomized controlled trials of online therapy chats, text chats, people can't tell the difference between whether they're talking to an AI or a human therapist. And there are studies showing that the AIs get higher marks from patients than humans do. So, even something that you would think of as a very human task is not necessarily safe from AI.
I think I'm really glad you mentioned the words soft skills. Maybe before we talk about like the impact on particular industries, careers, degrees, can we dive into like soft skills and maybe what viewers should be thinking about in terms of some of the skills that they're going to need for the future, regardless of what field of study and what career they might go into? So I think this has changed. This is one of the things that's changing most with this technology.
Yeah, so soft skills are generally considered to be the kind of, like hard skills are technical skills, subject matter expertise. So learning the composition of a cell, or learning how chemical reactions occur, or learning different torts and different laws. Okay, these are hard skills. These are, how to write, edit a video. These are all technical subject matter expert skills. Soft skills are the human side of the equation. So empathy, listening, the ability to build consensus, motivate people to act, ability to deal with difficult emotions in yourself and in others. All these, you might have heard the term EQ, right? Emotional quotient, like your emotional intelligence. It's like an IQ, but it's an EQ. So all of these sorts of skills are going to become increasingly important in the workplace. But then again, they've always been important in the workplace. So, but even those soft skills are exposed to AI in one form or another. So I guess, we could go through, we could go career by career, but they're all heavily affected. We could break the discussion maybe into knowledge work, which is white collar work, and more traditional blue collar work, right? And sort of game out the implications to that. I'm not sure that maybe you've got a different way you want to tackle it, but
let's do that. So let's look at the kind of white collar work, and start to look at how this technology is going to impact some of those sort of careers.
So what the AI does is it creates artifacts, right? So that could be a PowerPoint slide, it could be an analysis of data, it could be a visualization of data, it could be a business plan, it could be a marketing plan, it could be images or video to go in your marketing plan, it could be an analysis of some case law before the lawyer goes to court, it could read, scans of a patient in a hospital and give a diagnosis, cancer scans, bone scans. These are all artifacts. The AI is rapidly developing the ability to generate any artifact, any cognitive output, and pretty much any job that is done on a computer is fair game for AI at some point, right? And right now we're starting to see AI agents with the ability to move the mouse and the keyboard and have full control of computers and write to people who are playing around with Claude Code. I'm sure some of your watchers are doing that, Rob. That writes to your file system, has access, command line access. So, where are we positioned then when we're in a world where the AI can do a lot of what we consider to be the work of knowledge workers? You could easily spend a day or two writing up a business plan for a project, right? And now it's done in an hour. You could easily spend a week, right, analysing half a dozen academic papers and writing up a literature review. Now that's done in an hour and a half, okay? So if what we've traditionally been paid to do in the workforce is create outputs, and the AI can do that, where does that leave us? What are we supposed to do? So this is where the soft skills come into it, right? So I can whip up that business plan in an hour now instead of a day, which is awesome because it's tedious work, all right? But I still have to go to my colleagues in my business unit and get their buy-in, get their feedback, incorporate their feedback. And then I still have to then go over to the other business units in the enterprise and so maybe I've done the business plan in marketing, but I have to go over to design and manufacturing, and then I have to go to finance to get the funding approved. I still have to be able to storytell and connect with people and enthuse people and motivate people. So the AI takes away a lot of the cognitive work, but it doesn't take away the emotional cognitive work, the storytelling, the connection, the human side of the job. So I think it's hard to imagine it happening, but I think it's going to happen in a very short amount of time, that we spend a lot of time sitting around asking the AI to do things, and then it's our job to deploy and execute what the AI has built for us. So that'll be a very different way of working. And another thing I'm trying to mix there is, when the AI spits out its outputs, we have to evaluate those outputs, right? So we have to go, like we talked about in the safety course, you've always got to verify. You can't trust everything it does. So a lot of your work becomes evaluating the AI's outputs, iterating, improving it, sending it back to the AI for another pass, right? And then you go, okay, so if my job is evaluation, iteration, and then the human work of deploying and executing, and this is in any industry, right? We're still talking knowledge workers here, but pretty much any knowledge work. Then we get into something called taste. Right? So how do you know that that's a good song and that song's been done 1,000 times before and it's not original? That's taste. How do you know that that graphic design for your new marketing campaign is really on point and really well targeted towards your cohort, or it's really cheesy and inappropriate for your target audience? That's taste. So all of a sudden, things like taste become important. So we've got, I know I'm riffing a bit here, but bear with me and I'll stop talking soon, Rob, because I think about this stuff all day long. You've got taste, you've got evaluation and iteration. And the last thing is, and I've seen this already early on, where AI agents, we've rolled them out of the university for staff, and you spend a lot of your time sitting around with a group of people and you're all telling your AI agent to go do something. And then you're sitting there watching it come back and you go, oh, that's not quite right. And then you turn to your co-worker and you say, what do you think of this? And they come and have a look and go, oh, I'll ask it to do that instead and see what happens. Oh, that's a good idea. And it's a looser, more creative, more playful way of working, because you're not stuck in the trenches writing the business report, which is boring. Yeah. No one enjoys writing those things, right? Business plans. So it can be, I think the promise is a more playful and more enjoyable and more present work environment. But finally, and I'll stop talking, I promise, what happens when you've got multiple agents? Right? All of a sudden you're a manager. So are we all managers now, where we're all sort of managing teams of agents to do work? That's a sort of broad overview. We can drill into certain areas, but it's a sort of broad overview of where we see knowledge work heading. And by the way, I should have said this at the beginning, no one really knows for sure, but this is our best educated guess.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Some of the skills you're talking about there are entrepreneurial skills. Oh, yeah. And one of the things I've been saying a lot recently is, in a world where everything can be generated, images, text, video, music, the whole lot, literally ideas, like Aaron, ideas are a commodity now. Like, you go to Claude and you ask for 500 ideas, Claude will confidently give you 500 ideas in about 30 seconds flat. So what becomes the core skill of executing? Well, it's the ability to take that output, those artifacts, as you say, to persuade another human being, to try things, to fail, and to be resilient and realize, okay, I've just fallen on my face and eaten dirt. I now need to get back up, and I need to dust myself off, and I need to try again. Like, these are the core skills of being an entrepreneur, in my view. So I'm like cheering for the entrepreneurs out there, because that core skill set, regardless, and entrepreneurs, so for clarity, people, an entrepreneur isn't necessarily Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or Melanie Perkins. Like, they're the 0.1% of 1%. Most entrepreneurs are small business owners, mum and dad work at, running their own business. That's a true entrepreneur in statistically speaking. It's somebody working in a big corporation who launches a new project or a new product. These people have got that entrepreneurial skill set. And my view, Aaron, is regardless of what industry people are in, people who have that entrepreneurial mindset, who have that skill set, are the ones who are going to thrive the most.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We all have to be leaders now, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're planning on spending your life as a cubicle warrior, just being told what to do, go and write this document, go and do that PowerPoint slide. You're not going to, you've got to learn how to lead, because leaders know how to prioritize. So you can get 500 ideas from Claude, but you've got to pick the good idea, which comes back to taste. But then you've got to have the gumption to go, okay, well, let's go here. Let's go this way. Let's do this with that idea. Let's execute on it. And the whole entrepreneurship is really interesting, right? So because up until recently in the history of capitalism, if you wanted to do something significant, it required a lot of people and a lot of resources, right? Like designing a product, building a product, shipping a product, marketing a product, or providing a service if you're a lawyer or a doctor or any other white-collar employer. All these roles took a lot of resources. So size was the biggest advantage in terms of work in the enterprise. Size was its own moat. And there's that term, if you're not familiar with it, I'm sure you are, Rob, but if people are watching in entrepreneurship world, people say, well, what's your moat? And what have you got around your product that prevents your competitors from just copying, taking all your business off you? So size was its own moat. But now, as you've just said, Rob, teams of 1 or 2 people can do what a team of 100 could do 5 years ago, right? All of a sudden, size loses its advantage. It still has all of the downsides, which is committees and slow moving and conservative and risk averse, right? So all of a sudden, size has flipped from being this moat to being a detriment, being an inhibitor. So there's a lot of concern about what am I going to do with AI? What's AI is going to take all the jobs? AI is also going to, I think, potentially set up a whole realm of human flourishing, because people will be much freer to pursue things that they're passionate about. They won't have to get the permission of some big company to do it.
I totally agree with that. It is going to be a moment where, as long as you embrace it, and maybe we can talk to that too, as long as you embrace this technology and you try to learn it and you try to work with it, you can really reap the rewards. Actually, maybe just a little side note there, Aaron, because I visited UNE maybe a couple of months ago now, and I was really impressed with what you guys were doing in terms of putting this technology into hands of all kinds of students. Obviously, a lot of students are using AI with help with studying and things like that, but what I loved is how UNE is proactively trying to teach all kinds of students how to build AI agents, even if intuitively it might not fit into that kind of degree area. Can you just talk a little bit to that? Because I think it's a great, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this, this isn't necessarily just a spruik UNE. What I want this to do is to help you think about how you can actually use some of these tools regardless of what you're studying.
Yeah, great question. So we don't just turn on a chat window and just say to students, away you go. Because we don't want our students to be passive consumers of AI. We want them to be makers and builders with AI. And for that reason, we haven't just given them Copilot and turned on like some of the other unis have. We've given them a fully fledged AI suite. And we spoke about this previously, but we give students choice of models from all the labs. So you can use an Anthropic model, which is Claude, or you can use an OpenAI model, which is ChatGPT. You can use a Gemini model from Google, or you can use one of the open source models. And different models are good at different things. So we're teaching our students, this is a data analysis and it's a huge data set. I should use Gemini for that because it's got the massive context window. This is more of a creative task that involves emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, in quote marks, is not really emotional intelligence, because as we discussed in the safety course, it's just next token prediction. But, Claude has more emotional intelligence. I'm going to use Claude for this task. So we're teaching our students model literacy. That's the first big thing. Then we're giving them access to a whole suite of MCP tools that connect their agents to the outer world, escape their computer, get on the internet, and collect data. So they've got AIs that can do deep researches, and they can hit up, like when our AIs do a Google search, it hits 100, 150 different links, reads them all, and returns the results to you. So way better than a human doing it. Plus the AI has memories on you, so it knows what you're interested in, what you're looking for. So when you take model choice and tool choice, and then the students can go wild creating these agents you're talking about, Rob. So they can create agents to help them with study, to help them with research, to help them build apps and tools. And we spoke about how students are using AI for study previously. But the point is, get the tool set, get your hands on the tools, tinker, experiment, learn, grow.
And would you say that goes for any type of student? So if students going into nursing or a student's going into, something which might be seen as like safe, so to speak, from this technology, does that go for them too?
100%. So that's an important point. So not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, right? Like not everyone's cut out and wants the life of being an entrepreneur. Like, you know what it's like, Rob. It's hard work. It's sometimes really stressful. I'm kind of like an entrepreneur in the university. I have my own lab and sort of hustled and run like a startup inside the university. Now, there's a path forward here too for people who want to work as doctors or nurses or psychologists in a big company or lawyers in a big company. And that is the role of subject matter expertise. So we refer to SMEs, subject matter experts. So right now, as we were talking earlier about the role of evaluation, the AI gives you an output. How do you know it's good? Okay, what's your taste? What's your evaluation? How do you know what to do with it? Okay, all of that depends upon whether you're a subject matter expert, right? So if you're a radiographer looking at a scan and the AI tells you this person has cancer, you need to be a subject matter expert to check what the AI has done. If you're a marketer and the AI recommends a certain channel strategy to promote your new wellness product, you need to have a subject matter expertise to know, actually that channel is not appropriate for that. Or if the AI is on crack, it doesn't know what it's talking about, right? So like that happens all the time. So don't ever think that subject matter expertise is, no longer required or needed. So if you're passionate about medicine, or you're passionate about nursing, or you just want to teach, right? Like say you want to do an education degree. AI is going to be in the classroom for sure, but an AI can be a great tutor and help students learn, as we discussed in the previous chat, but most learning is still social, right? It still requires humans. Most learning is contextual, in context, so that the teacher needs to have the subject matter expertise and how to teach socially and how to contextualize. So there's a whole world of work for the entrepreneurs, but people who are still passionate about becoming subject matter experts in their chosen field. The AI is just a level up for you. The AI just gives you superpowers, but you're still there. You're still required there for... I guess I'm going to make a couple of notes here, Rob, so I don't forget to talk about these. I'd like to talk about embodied and relational intelligence, if we can come back to that. But so there's plenty for you to do if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, I guess. Yes.
And interestingly, that sort of almost answers the question that I asked at your top, which was like, which fields are safe from AI? I mean, and robotics. I mean, let's face it, everything's going to be impacted. But what I was hearing you saying just now, Aaron, is, well, if you're a lawyer, you're going to. I'm hearing this all the time, like, there's going to be no law grad jobs because they're all going to disappear, or business analyst jobs are going to disappear. Well, I don't believe that's true. I mean, I think these will evolve because we still need the subject matter experts. And of course, I think it's an advantage for those of us who are lucky enough to be far enough along in our careers that we already have that subject matter expertise. But the journey to get that expertise is just going to look different for people. So my personal view, maybe you agree with this or don't, there are some fields where getting that first job is going to become a lot more competitive. If you're a graphic designer, maybe a lawyer, maybe a writer, like coding. Of course, it's going to be harder for you. But, does that mean there's no jobs? No, it just means the jobs will be different. And you need to adapt to what that job market is looking for.
I think coding is a good example, right? So, like, there's no point hiring an entry-level coder anymore, and we hire coders in the lab because the AI can do the work of an entry-level coder. So how do young coders get to mid-level so they can get jobs now? It's going to be a different path. And I'll give you an example. My son, who's about to turn 11, he's 10 still, I went to his bedroom the other day and he's like, I've downloaded VS Studio, which is a development environment. I've got Python working and I'm building a Minecraft bot. And I'm using the free ChatGPT. It keeps breaking on me. It's not very good. 3 hours has gone by, and I felt like 1 minute. And he was just in awe, right? And I was like, oh, okay, mate. Let me show you Claude Code. So I installed Claude Code because I use Claude Code all the time. I installed Claude Code on his computer, and his eyes were his biggest sources, right? And off he went. He was building Minecraft bots that were jumping into Minecraft servers he plays on and acting as a training warrior to practice your PvP skills. So I've been worrying for months, what do we do about junior coders? And then it occurred to me, we just don't know the journey that kids are going to find and map out for themselves. But like my 10-year-old boy is off to a pretty good start, right? It's going to be different he's not going to write code like coders did a decade ago. He'll probably never write code. Coders will never write code in the future, but they'll still be verifying code and testing code and iterating and improving, and they'll just be doing it differently. So sometimes I just think, well, kids have just got to work it out, and they will. But the only way to do that is diving in. I think you said it earlier, don't be afraid of it, just dive in, explore, experiment. So yeah, maybe, Rob, the answer is to your first question, what career is safe from AI? Maybe they're all safe. I mean, we started by saying nothing is safe. Maybe they're all safe.
That's so true. Wow, we've really cracked something there. That's brilliant. It's true. But I agree to it. I mean, you were talking about taste earlier. You know, the fact that if you've got taste and you have a sense of where the trends are heading and everything like that, then chances are, if you're tasteful as an architect, as a graphic designer, as a filmmaker, you're pretty safe because you're reading a trends that a bot simply can't analyze because it's something, that's intangible, right?
And that is a perfect segue to talk about embodied intelligence.
Let's do it.
So embodied intelligence is the intelligence we have from living in a body. Right? Our intelligence is embodied. Right? We are constantly getting our 5 senses stimulated. We're hearing things, we're smelling things, we're tasting things, we're touching things. Right? We're feeling pressure. We live in a physical reality, and that shapes our intelligence and it shapes our taste. Right? So we will feel and sense and create and desire things that an AI can never do because it's not embodied. Right? It'll never get what it is to be human until it's embodied. And it can't be embodied in the way we are. So our embodied intelligence is something that will apply in every career. Okay, if you're a lawyer dealing with someone who's been falsely arrested, if you're a nurse dealing with someone who's in intensive care, right? Like you bring your life experience and your humanity and your embodied intelligence to your work, in any work. So this stuff is, I think, relatively safe from AI. The other form of intelligence I wanted to touch on is relational intelligence, that intelligence that we develop by being in relation to each other. A lot of physicists at the quantum level will tell you everything is relational, just everything exists in relationship to everything else. And if you look at what it is to be human and in a workplace, it's all about the relationships you have with people all around you. It's the same in the school playground and the relationship with your mates, the relationship with the kids over the other side of the playground who you're not mates with, relationships with the people on the bus and with your brother and sister and with your teachers you do like and the teachers you don't like. It's all, our relational intelligence has been getting this massive workout all day, every day, right? Again, AI can't get that. Although AI might give you some advice as a therapist, that's just because it's read every bit of therapy that's ever been written, but it's never had to deal with a relationship. It's never actually had to live through some sort of relational experience. So, embodied intelligence, relational intelligence, both incredibly important in the workplace, applicable to almost every job you could imagine. The AI is going to do the artifacts. Don't stress about that, would be my advice. Just embrace it, dive in, run toward the change would be the best piece of advice I could give any student. Don't be afraid of the change, run toward it, because as long as you're relying on your strengths and being brave and being curious above all, perhaps, you'll find a way. And we're humans and they're not. So in the end, I think the human aspect, the humanizing aspect of everything we do is the most important element of it.
Last question for you, Aaron. I'm just conscious we're getting close to time here. Right back up the top, we kind of split it and we said, let's talk about white collar and then maybe talk about blue collar.
Oh, yeah.
Can we touch very quickly on the blue collar jobs, you know, your builders, your trades, things like that, and how this technology might impact those kind of fields in future. And we probably don't have a minute to go here, so unfortunately I have to keep this kind of short.
Look, it's a little bit further out, so we're really guessing at this point. But my guess is it'll follow a similar pattern to what we're seeing play out right now with knowledge work, in that in the same way the AI are doing the artifacts of the knowledge worker now, the robots will come along and do a lot of the actual product of the blue collar work. Like there'll be some robot arm that'll go in and unplug the toilet. Or there'll be a multi-purpose humanoid robot that can mow your lawn and empty your dishwasher and chop your carrots for your chicken soup. All right. But the knowing what the problem is, okay, the reason that pipe over there is bubbling is because that toilet over here is blocked. Or knowing, oh, look, we're going to wire this house up and I do have 3 little spider bots that are going to get in the roof and do the wiring for me. So it's going to be 3 times as quick and cost you half as much. And I can do twice as many houses in a week. But I'm still the one who's going to architect and design the wiring plan if I'm an electrician, right? So I think we'll find the AI will speed things up, make things more efficient, give tradies superpowers as well, just like it is for knowledge workers. But the human aspects, the planning, the prioritization, the evaluation, the taste, the knowledge, the judgment, the embodied intelligence is really important when you're working on tools, for example. You might know there's no way that wrench is going to fit in that tight little space, but the robot doesn't work that out, right? So like, I think we'll see a similar pattern to what we're seeing right now in knowledge work, but maybe 5 to 7 years later. Could be totally wrong on all that though, but that's my guess.
Aaron Driver from the University of New England, the Chief AI Officer up at UNA. Thank you so much for joining me throughout the week at the National Virtual Expo. Like really just on a personal note, have loved having these conversations with you throughout the week. And I think we've been fortunate to have your expertise and the expertise of UNA present at this event to share with the audience. So thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks so much, Rob. I think this is an amazing event and super happy to be part of it. Thanks for having me.
Well, I hope you got something out of this session. And if you have any questions at all, you can head to choosingyouruni.com and ask Lumen. Lumen is your AI guide who knows about every university, every pathway, every option that we've talked about throughout this virtual expo. And Lumen is available to talk to you 24/7. So it's ready when you are.